Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one is a particular story where I say three of the biggest decisions that one will make in life are career, who you marry, and having children and raising them, and trying to check those boxes off and complete those challenges are all part of our life. And we are in this presidential election. So let's get right into this story of who is the gentleman that Vice President Kamala Harris is married to, this entertainment attorney, Emhoff, Doug Emhoff, 59 years old. But his past has some dark shadows around it, and the media is not really talking about it. So let's go. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man in booze-fueled assault after date to star-studded gala. Vice President Kamala Harris's husband assaulted his ex-girlfriend, three friends have told DailyMail.com. The second gentleman, that's what he's referred to, Doug Emhoff, 59, allegedly struck the woman in the face so hard she spun around while waiting in a valet line late at night after a May 2012 Cannes Film Festival event in France. One of her friends told Daily Mail that the woman called him immediately after the incident, sobbing in her cab, and described the alleged assault. DailyMail.com is not naming the woman, who is a successful New York City attorney, but we will refer to her by the pseudonym of Jane. A second friend said Jane, who had been dating Emhoff for 3 months, also told her about the alleged violence at the time. A third friend told Daily Mail that Jane first told her in 2014 that she had dated Emhoff, and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018, when the then Senator Harris was in the news after grilling Superior Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing over sexual essay assault allegations. The friends, who also asked not to be named for fear of retaliation by Emhoff, shared with Daily Mail pictures of him and Jane together from 2012 and the other documents and communications corroborating elements of this story. They say Jane declined to comment on this story for Daily Mail. The shocking claims follow revelations by Daily Mail that Emhoff cheated on his first wife and mother of his two kids around 2008. Allegedly impregnating his daughter's nanny, who also worked as his daughter's grade school teacher. Attorney Emhoff admitted the affair with the nanny and teacher, Najin Naylor, after DailyMail.com published the story last month. All three of Jane's friends said she also told them about a disturbing alleged incident during her relationship with the second gentleman, in which Emhoff nonchalantly admitted to impregnating Miss Naylor. That was the babysitter, the nanny. Emhoff told Jane that the nanny accused him of causing her to have a miscarriage, the friends claimed. According to the friends, Emhoff did not say how he was allegedly responsible for the miscarriage, and he told Jane that the nanny's claims were false. But the second gentleman allegedly confessed to Jane that he paid Naylor a settlement of around $80,000 and had the nanny sign a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA. Attorney Emhoff was previously dubbed by Democrats as a wife guy and a mensch, which is a Yiddish term for an honorable, kind man. He has also spoken out in media interviews about being an ally to women and against toxic masculinity. In a fawning interview on Sunday, MSNBC host and former Biden White House press secretary Jen Psaki told Emhoff that he reshaped the perception of masculinity, despite his admitted affair with his daughter's nanny and teacher. He said, "I've always been like this," Emhoff said to Psaki. "To me, it's the right thing to do, support women." These allegations strike to the heart of his benevolent image promoted by the Harris presidential campaign. Jane's friends, Attorney Jane, her friends said she was given tickets by wealthy friends to go to the Foundation for AIDS Research, AMFAR, gala dinner, an elite charity auction filled with top celebrities and Hollywood executives held on May 24, 2012 at the Hotel du Cap in Antibes near Cannes in the south of France. Attendees that year included model Cara Delevinski, actress Antonio Banderas, Alec Baldwin, designer Karl Lagerfeld, singer Kylie Minogue, actress Kirsten Dunst, socialite Paris Hilton, and top AMFAR supporter, now disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. The friend said Jane brought her then boyfriend Emhoff as a +1. One of Jane's friends, a top New York businessman, said he was at home getting ready for bed that night when he got an unexpected phone call from her. It was hard to hear her because she was sobbing, he said. She told me she was with a guy and he hit her. It was very clear what she was telling me. She said she was with a guy, her date. She was at the Cannes Film Festival and he hit her. She was in the car with the guy at the time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to call the French police. I couldn't get a hold of her after calling back. He said he still had a vivid memory of the troubling conversation from 12 years ago. In later conversations, but pretty contemporaneous with that, she told me about the guy, he added. It was something like 3 a.m. They were trying to get out of there and they both had been drinking. There was a gigantic line waiting for taxis. Jane went up to one of the valet guys, offered him 100 euros or whatever to get to the head of the line. She told me she put her hand on the valet's shoulder and Doug apparently thought that she was flirting and came over and slapped her in the face. She slapped him back. My impression is that he had a lot to drink. She was sobbing on the phone afterwards, but she wasn't slurring her words. She told me that she broke up with him that night. A second friend, another female New York attorney, said Jane told her about the alleged attack at the time and said it came out of nowhere. They had dinner. She said Doug was very charming and it was lovely. Then I believe it was between 2 and 3 a.m. It was still raging, but she was wearing 4-inch heels and a floor-length gown, so it was time to depart, the lawyer said. She said there had not been any fighting before he hit her. You would have thought it was this fairy tale trip. She put her hand on the valet's shoulder, and as she was talking to him, Doug comes up. She said he turned her around by her right shoulder, and she was completely caught off guard. He hauled up and slapped her so hard that she spun around. She said she was in utter shock. She was so furious that she slapped him back on one side and then on the other cheek with the other hand. The three friends said that as Jane tried to leave following the alleged assault, Emhoff forced his way into the cab with her. All of a sudden, the car was there and they were ushering her into the car, the attorney friend said. She said she wanted to go back to the hotel without him, but while she was shutting the door, he forced himself into the car, which she did not want. She said, I think she asked him what the F was that all about in the car. And the only thing she could really get out of him was that he thought she was hitting on the valet. Jane told me she was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe he is the person that he is, and that it turned into this trailer trash moment. It woke her up about the self-delusion she was having, explaining away the teacher story. She realized he was bad news. This was the first time she saw his ugly side. She said she called the male businessman friend because she wanted Doug to see her on the phone, telling somebody. She felt that would afford her some protection. The third friend, a female top company executive, this is her third friend, said Jane told her the story in 2018. I don't know if it was an aggressive slap or a punch, but it was something that I know she would never forget, and something that would end a relationship immediately. She never had been hit. She said she'd never been hit any day in her life. Jane is a gorgeous, strong woman, and you would never expect somebody to hit her. The executive said Jane told her that Emhoff was unapologetic about the alleged abuse the next day. When he hit her, she hit him back. Like, don't you ever do that again. I asked her if he ever apologized. She said no, but he commented about the hit she gave him. It was a tennis metaphor, but no apology at all. He was a tennis fan, said the female attorney, and all he said to her was, don't worry about it. You got one across the court and down the line. The executive said Jane believed Emhoff meant that now they were. The executive said Jane believed Emhoff meant that and said that now they were even, slapping each other. She said it was hurtful at the time, the attorney said, but she said she didn't want to feel like a victim. The friends said Emhoff ended the trip early to return to LA for his daughter's 13th birthday on May 29th, and that he and Jane never saw each other again. A copy of Jane and Emhoff's itinerary the friend shared with DailyMail.com shows a layover flight from Newark, New Jersey to Nice, France on May 22, 2012. Their return flight from Milan, Italy, was originally scheduled for May 29th. A May 17, 2012 email provided by the friends, written by Jane to one of her fellow Emhoff attendees, gives the location of the hotel in Nice the couple stayed at and said that we have to leave a day earlier than you so that Doug can get back to LA for his daughter's birthday. The executive said that Jane described how Emhoff love bombed her from their first date after connecting with her on dating site Match.com, quickly throwing himself into an intimate relationship with Jane and giving her the impression that he wanted to marry her. She had met his parents, his kids, the female executive said. Prior to this, he had been making comments about marriage with Jane. The attorney friend said Jane told her Emhoff had even introduced her to his son, Cole, on their first date in March 2012. She went to a hotel bar to meet Doug after work. It was a typical Match.com date where you only commit to a drink. She had this huge outdoor space at her apartment. She suggested that they go to her apartment and order pizza. Jane said Cole started smoking. This is Emhoff's son. And Doug asked for a cigarette himself. The whole thing was weird. Doug liked her, so he incorporated Cole, his son, into the date. The story appears similar to Harris's description of how Emhoff quickly dived into his relationship with her in 2013, emailing her the morning after their first date with his availability for the next few months. He said, "I'm too old to play games or hide the ball," Emhoff wrote in an email, according to Harris's 2019 book, The Truths We Hold. He said, "I really like you and I want to see if we can make this thing work." Harris wrote that Emhoff introduced her to his children after about 2 months, and they married in August 2014. Jane's friend said that just weeks after her first date with Emhoff, he invited her to visit him in Los Angeles in April 2012. Now, this is going back to the lady, the attorney that said that he slapped her. So Doug flew her out to LA, the attorney said. She was there for about a week. He was interested in buying a new house. He put on a big show about how important it was for Jane to have some sort of say in the house he's purchasing. Emhoff was still married, but he was divorcing his wife, Kirsten, at the time. And while Jane was visiting him, he made a confession about the reason for the split between him and his wife, Kirsten. She felt for some reason his wife had the upper hand, and she couldn't understand why that was, the executive said. She told me they were driving, and she asked him. He told her that he had gotten the kid's teacher pregnant, and that that had been the cause of their divorce. The executive said the nanny claimed that he had been aggressive with her, shouting and whatever, to the degree that she lost the baby. He did it rather matter-of-factly, not apologizing or saying he screwed up, but just like it was any other conversation, Jane said. Not, I've got to tell you something. This isn't who I am, or I'm embarrassed about it. There was no shame or regret. The attorney friend said Emhoff suggested the nanny was making up the claims and that Jane wanted to believe him at the time. Attorney Jane said she entertained what he was telling her, that the teacher wasn't really pregnant and that she was doing a shakedown on him. Sources who were close to Naylor, who was the nanny, during 2008 and 2009, told DailyMail.com that Doug did get her pregnant and that she did not end up having the baby. One source unconnected to Jane told Daily Mail last month that Doug had some kind of financial settlement with Naylor. Jane's businessman friend said Jane told him Emhoff confessed to settling with the nanny for about $80,000 and having her sign an NDA. The nanny believes that Doug caused the baby to be lost and that maybe it was just lawyers making threats. But Doug had to pay something like $80,000. Naylor had to sign an NDA, but Doug was telling this to Jane in detail. Los Angeles Police Department records obtained under the California Public Records Act showed that police were called to a house where Naylor was living around the time she was allegedly pregnant. The call out was given priority level 3, which is a life-threatening emergency, lights and sirens. LAPD refused to give further information or the names of the individuals involved in the incident. The attorney friend said Jane tried to put aside her misgivings about Emhoff after his alleged confession about Nanny Naylor. She bought the flights for Amphar the week before he told her about the impregnated teacher. It was a serious red flag, but the trip was booked. He came to New York and they flew to Nice. The friend said that Jane thought nobody would care about her story until Harris's rise to power made Emhoff a notable figure, at which point she became afraid of retaliation if she ever spoke out. But they said they believe it was in the public's best interest to expose Emhoff's alleged hypocrisy. Attorney Jane said he's holding himself out to be something He's absolutely is not. And that's bullcrap.